Hi, this is Scott Ware with Radiance Magazine from Radiance Multidimensional Media, and this is Interviews on Xpnsion Network. I have with me someone you may recognize, Susan Shumsky. Say hello, Susan.
Hi. Hi, Scott.
Hello. I say might recognize you because I mean you're kind of famous. You've been on CNN, you've been on KFI, you've done hundreds of interviews. And people also know you because you actually worked for the guru who was, well, influenced the Beatles. Isn't that right? You actually worked for
That's
him?
very true. I was on his personal staff for 6 years. His name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi,
Right.
guru of the Beatles.
And I mean, that's amazing. And also, I just want to mention you have a book that's just coming out called Earth Energy Meditations, which you want to hear about. Yeah, thank you for doing this interview. I know you're also going to be at the LAX Hilton Conscious Life Expo, February 19th, I believe, to the 21st of 2021. And so that's going to be great. I imagine you're giving a talk or doing a workshop there.
I'm doing a few things there at the expo. Yeah, it should be fun.
Excellent,
It'd be
excellent.
great to get together with people again after such a long time.
So before we get to your book, The Earth Energy Meditations, you were a flower child, you were a hippie, and maybe you still are, you consider yourself one. What's changed with hippies since what we learned from the Maharishi back then in the 60s, and what's changed? And are you happy or sad with what you're seeing as far as the direction and entering the age of Aquarius and all of that?
Well, the reality is that what happened in the 60s was a spiritual revolution that transformed the world permanently. It was a very profound transformation. It was a time of a great conflict, civil unrest, the Vietnam War, and so on. So people were rebelling against that. And we were seeking something else. We were searching for higher consciousness, actually. We were looking to achieve nirvana. That's what the flower children were doing. It wasn't just all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We were very serious about attaining what we called altered states of consciousness, and we tried to do that through psychedelic exploration. And our gurus at that time were Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert, who later became Ram Dass, and they had written a book called The Psychedelic Experience. It was based upon the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And so it was, their philosophy was turn on, tune in, and drop out. Turn on means to take psychedelic drugs. Tune in would be to achieve higher states of awareness. And drop out would be to be anti-establishment, to withdraw from the institutions that had been bulwarks of society at the time. So it was a big rebellion, actually, and anti-war. You know, our slogans were "Make love, not war," and it was very influential. I mean, hugely influential, and the Beatles were very much a part of that. So it was a very interesting time, and it had long-lasting effects, permanent effects.
Well, yeah. So compare and contrast that to today. Is there a new hippie movement? Are the old hippies the new? Is there a new movement?
Well, now there's the Black Lives Matter movement, which is very much another incarnation of the civil rights movement of the 60s, because that was an amazing transformation back then. And but now there's still some remnants of racial inequality. There's some remnants of bigotry, so on, that still need to be addressed. So yes, it's a kind of a revival, in a sense, of the whole hippie ideal. But and also, strangely, there's a tie-dye is coming back. You know, even the fashions are a little bit retro to the 60s, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, are you sensing any other kind of movement? I mean, sort of a groundswell of spirituality, of more and more people waking up?
I think people have been forced to wake up with the pandemic. They've had to stay home and they've had to figure out something to do. So creativity has been increasing, self-reflection, all the kinds of things that are synonymous with spirituality. That's what's happening right now. And it's because of this kind of forced meditation that people have had to do. They've had to stay at home.
When you teach self-reflection, what areas do you get into?
When I think of reflection?
Well, or when you teach people how to go into, whether it's their inner child, their shadow selves, as far as inner reflection, what directions do you go in?
I teach meditation. And my latest book, Earth Energy Meditations, is a book of meditations, affirmations, and mantras, and also exercises, even physical exercises, that help people to get more grounded, to help them to get more integrated and whole, and to realize their true self, and also to overcome oversensitivity, to not be a psychic sponge, to overcome being a psychic sponge. A psychic sponge is a person who absorbs energy as a sponge absorbs water. Yeah. So they wake up in the morning and then they go through their day, but every person they encounter during the day, they kind of feel like these people are like energy parasites that are draining, they're sucking them dry of energy. So energy parasites, energy vampires, toxic relationships that just drain them. And then by the end of the day, they're so exhausted, all they can do is just lie on their bed and collapse because it's so draining and so exhausting. Yeah, there's nothing bad about being an energy sponge. It just means that you're very sensitive. And in fact, you're a psychic. You're empathic. So that's not a bad thing, but you need to learn how to control it in such a way that you don't get drained. It's good to be sensitive, it's good to be psychic, but not to be drained at the same time. And you can manage that through the techniques in my book, Earth Energy Meditations.
Okay, now why Earth Energy Meditations? What's wrong with Saturn's energy meditation?
Saturn's energy meditations? No,
as opposed to Earth energy meditation.
Oh, different planet, you mean? Yeah, our connection to the earth is our root chakra. And this book is about helping people to have a healthy root chakra, let's put it that way. Sure. So that they can be grounded, so that they're not fearful, the issues of survival instincts and so on. That's what the root chakra is about. And it's important for people to learn how to become more integrated and whole and not be drained.
Yeah, a lot of people are drained and they don't even know why. They don't, and they don't even know they're getting it from other people. Then when they learn maybe that they're an empath that picks up easily from other people the energies that are out of alignment with them and making them feel chaotic. Yeah, it's an excellent thing, of course, to learn tips on how not to do that so that you can go out and be free and be solid and standing in your own power. Exactly.
It's about self-empowerment. Thank you for saying that, because that's really what it's about. It's about self-authority, self-empowerment, how to really realize the value of the self and the importance of standing in the self and being integrated and whole.
You mentioned self-empowerment, and a lot of people these days are learning to tap into the divine in themselves, inside, and learning to hear the inner wisdom that the soul is providing. And other people give up their power to leaders of all different stripes, even spiritual leaders sometimes.
Exactly.
And I know you used to work for a guru. At what point should someone say, you know what, I don't need a guru anymore. I'm going to go with the inner wisdom that is constantly coming up with me?
Well, that's a very personal question for each individual. They have to realize at some point that they have to stand on their own. And any guru who is worth his stripes, any guru who is really a spiritual being, is going to encourage the person to stand on their own.
Exactly.
Someone who's a great teacher is someone who helps people, lifts them up, teaches them methods that they can do on their own, and then eventually kind of kicks them to the curb, kicks them out the door. And that's exactly what my guru did with me. And it's important for anyone who wants to have a spiritual teacher, for them to eventually know that they have to stand on their own, and not to get too attached to being with that guru all the time. My guru, when he asked me to leave, he said, "You're too dependent on me. The reason why you have to leave now is you're just too dependent on me, and I won't always be here."
That must have been hard for you. It must have taken 6 months or a year to get straight, or I don't know how long did it take for you to?
It was devastating. It was really hard.
Yeah.
But it's just part of life. You have to get over it.
Sure, but you see it in the God's eye view. Looking back, you see it was necessary, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have stayed in that organization forever. That was not me. No. I didn't even stay with that form of meditation. Once I learned the other meditation that is the technique that I teach, which is called divine revelation. Once I learned that and I started teaching that, it wasn't too long before I realized that I liked it a whole lot better than transcendental meditation, which is what my guru was teaching. And so I stopped teaching transcendental meditation and I started teaching the other method. And all of my books are just parts of that, different pieces of that.
Can you give us an inkling of what that kind of meditation's like, what people be in for?
Well, yeah, it's very simple. My latest book, Earth Energy Meditations, is filled with, like I said, guided meditations and affirmations and mantras and so on. But the guided meditations are easy for anyone to do.
Yes. Because
with a guided meditation, you don't have to have any particular skill or talent. You don't have to, you don't have to take a long time learning it or anything like that, because there's nothing to learn. All you have to do is just read the meditation on the page, and it takes you step by step, moment by moment into the meditation. Or for an even better experience, you can read the words that are on the page onto a device, onto an electronic device, and then sit comfortably in a chair, start the playback, close your eyes and listen to your own voice guiding you into meditation. Or there's also an audio version of the book available. In fact, it came out simultaneously with the book itself. So you can get the audio version on Audible, on Amazon, for example. You can buy it there or other places. And then you can just listen to it, and that will guide you step by step into meditation. And in that book, there's dozens of really amazing, powerful meditations that you can do. And there's a professional reader who reads the meditations, and that voice will guide you into the deep meditative state. So it really works. It's really powerful, and it's so easy. People complain, "Oh, I can't meditate." Well, you can you hear? Can you listen? Or can you read? If so, you can meditate, because all you have to do is just follow the instructions. That's how easy it is.
Okay. I wanted to pause for a moment to do a commercial for you, because I didn't mention your bio. Dr. Susan Shumsky dedicates her life to helping people take command of their lives in highly effective, powerful, and positive ways. You are a highly respected spiritual teacher, best-selling author of 19 books in English and 36 in foreign editions. You've won 40 prestigious book awards. Wow. A pioneer in the human potential field, you've taught meditation, prayer, affirmation, and intuition to thousands worldwide for many decades. And your books include Miracle Prayer, Divine Revelation, Exploring Meditation, Ascension, Instant Healing, The Power of Auras, Awaken Your Third Eye, Awaken Your Divine Intuition, Color Your Chakras, The Big Book of Chakras, Third Eye Meditations, Earth Energy Meditations, Prosperity Meditations, and your memoir, Maharishi and Me. And you're the founder of Divine Revelation, a unique field-proven technology for contacting the divine presence, hearing and testing the inner voice, and receiving clear divine guidance. And your website is drsusan.org or divinetravels.com. For contacting the divine presence, what can you describe that?
Yes. So contacting the divine presence means having a connection, an experience of the divine presence. That means an ecstatic contact with the God of your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to communicate with that divine being, having a two-way conversations with that divine being, starting a dialogue, asking questions, receiving answers from spirit with a capital S. And that is the fastest way that I know of for anyone to develop their intuitive abilities, for them to develop clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience, is to listen to that still small voice within, receive guidance by asking questions and getting answers from that divine voice. And it's not necessarily just a voice. It can be a voice. It could also be a vision. It could also be a feeling. There are several ways that you can communicate with spirit. And it's not that difficult to do. It's quite easy. I've written a book that can help anyone to develop that skill. And it is a skill, by the way. It's a learnable, teachable skill. That's what intuition is. Mm-hmm. It's not that you're born with it. And so you're special or you're psychic or something. The reality is everyone has that skill, and they can develop it more and more through practicing it. Just like playing the piano, you have to practice, and then eventually you get good at playing the piano. Similarly, intuition is the same way. By practicing, you get good at it. It's really, it's like any skill that you want to learn. And the book that I recommend is Awaken Your Divine Intuition. That's the name of the book, Awaken Your Divine Intuition. And that helps you to learn how to start that dialogue with spirit.
I imagine most of your books were written with you channeling through divine intuition, something like your book Ascension, for instance.
Ascension actually is different. Ascension, yeah, part of that is channeled, but Ascension is actually mostly stories about ascended masters, and really fascinating stories from all over the world. Not only the usual suspects like Saint Germain and Babaji and Jesus, but from all cultures, all over the world, even America, India, all over the place. So it's really a fascinating book. Book like my most recent one, Earth Energy Meditations, that has quite a bit of channel material simply because it is guided meditations and affirmations and those types of things that I received from spirit. Sure. So yeah, both kinds, both things, both research and receiving directly from spirit. Those are two components in most of my books.
Okay. And when you speak at for instance, the Conscious Life Expo, like you have before, what do you anticipate engaging the audience with?
Well, I'll be doing some workshops. One will be about prosperity, prosperity meditations, because that's my next book that's coming out. And then I'll be doing another one about the Earth Energy Meditations, which is the current book. And we'll be doing exercises and guided meditations and affirmations. So it'll be very experiential. And by the way, I'm doing some virtual, even this coming week, I'm doing some virtual seminars, workshops with East West Bookstore in both Mountain View, California and Seattle. I'll be doing some virtual events coming up in this month in January.
Okay. Okay, so with being in touch with your divine self and letting that come out, how is that what you're also instructing people or sharing with them on how to deal with these challenging times here at the beginning of 2021? What are people coming to you when you I assume you get personal readings or coaching? What are they coming to you with, and what are you sharing with them to help them thrive in these times?
Well, this time, more than any other time, I think, that we've ever gone through, is a time when the most vital skill we need to learn is meditation and intuition. And the reason for that is that we can no longer depend upon the things we used to depend upon before: institutions, our pension, our bank account, our job, society, religions, all kinds of institutions that we just can't depend upon these anymore. And we're fearful even to go outside. I mean, what's going to happen when we go to the grocery store? So it's a very trying time. And in order for people to be able to navigate this wilderness that we're in, they really need to develop their intuition and learn how to listen to that divine voice, because otherwise, what to do? We can't make decisions properly. We can't make decisions with peaceful confidence and conviction and assurance without help from our higher self, listening to the voice of truth, which will guide us through the jungle that we're in right now.
What are some of your favorite Beatles songs that were influenced by the Maharishi?
Well, Across the Universe is my favorite Beatles song that was influenced by Maharishi. That was written very soon after the Beatles learned transcendental meditation. And John Lennon wrote it, and he is very proud of it. He loves the lyrics. I'm talking as if he's alive. He loves the lyrics of that song and always praises that song because it was so poetic and such a genius kind of inspiration. That song, Across the Universe, it describes meditation in a very poetic and beautiful way. John was an amazing poet. And also in the song, it mentions Jai Guru Deva. And several times in the song, John sings Jai Guru Deva Om.
What does that mantra mean?
Okay, so Jai Guru Deva, it's not actually a mantra. It's a word, it's an expression, which means hail to the divine teacher. Maharishi, whenever he would greet someone or say goodbye to someone, he wouldn't say hello or goodbye or have a nice day. What he would do is he'd put his hands together and he would say, Jai Guru Dev. And he would say that hundreds of times a day, by the way. And whenever he would meet anyone, it's Jai Guru Dev. So he was speaking, when he said hail to the divine teacher, he was speaking of his own teacher, whose name was Brahmananda Saraswati, who was Maharishi's guru. So that's where the Beatles learned about Jai Guru Dev. And then John stuck a Om at the end of it for some reason. Om just is the basic mantra. It's the sound of sounds, the sound that underlies and gives rise to the universe. And it is a sound that people chant quite a bit in India.
There are even, I would say, medicinal benefits, spiritual benefits to chanting Om. Do you do that often?
No, I don't chant Om, but I do chant mantras, but not Om.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I know people can go to your website. What is your website again?
drsusan.org. And then I have another website, which is divinetravels.com. That's plural on the travels. That's DIVINETRAVELS.com.
I would think getting the Audible book where you're reading, and then you said a professional reader reads the meditations, that would be a good way to go. So you can just sort of zone out and meditate on that guided meditation.
It is a good way to go. The advantage of having the physical book too, the book, is that the affirmations, you'll be able to repeat the affirmations.
Oh, yeah.
On the Audible version, they don't give you enough time any time to repeat the affirmations. So that's the problem. But I would suggest both.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest both the book and the Audible.
I was going to say three because sometimes when I go on Kindle will then also offer the same book on Audible.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. So there's at least three.
Good. If you don't want to get the print version, you can get Kindle too. Kindle's good.
And for people who want to sign up to see you at Conscious Life Expo, they would go to Conscious Life Expo.
I don't think they have anything on the website yet at Conscious Life Expo.
Well, by the time they see this interview, I believe they will.
Oh, will they? Okay, great. ConsciousLifeExpo.com is
Yes. All right. Thank you for doing this interview, Susan. This is like the 1300 or something in one that you've done with the media.
1301 for 1301st interview that I've done. That just tells you how old I really am.
Oh, you've done them all in the last few years. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure to speak with you today.